Well, here we are again. It is Wednesday, my dudes. I feel dirty just saying that. You know what I've just noticed, though, is that we have a distinct and utterly terrible lack of Raise Your Tankard. Here we go. Oh, I don't know about you guys, but I am utterly knackered. Life just keeps on coming. It doesn't stop coming. Hey now. I don't feel like an all-star. I think I got a visible tut over there then. Right. Hello, Michael Dale. Welcome, the Dabbling Warlock. No, I have not picked up the pencil to learn to start drawing yet because I'm just so darn tired all the time. Ashray, welcome. Bloody hell, it's Feifel. You are alive. My dear, where have you been? We are missing the petite elf. We have not seen any new artwork of her in some time, and I think some artwork of Feifel would be much appreciated. But what artwork of Feifel would be the best thing to say? What would we want Feifel to be drawn as? I remember I suggested Elric and Mel Nibene. That got followed through on, I think, over a year ago now. We've been talking a while, Feifel. I still owe you stuff as well. I still owe you a story. Every now and again, I open that document up and I look at it, and then I close it again because no mortal man should be seeing the things I have put in that story. And we have got Celeste. Celeste, you can go ahead and drop your Twitch link in Discord to me, Celeste. And I will stick it in chat. I think you might get blocked from it. But I am ever so happy to see Celeste here today. She has now joined the Conan Exiles server, which I'll talk more about in just a moment. Amazing Gaming Productions. Hello, sir. And we've got Savage Brewski. What's up, bruh? Again, these memes, they don't suit me, but I'll say them anyway. Vicky's here. Hello, Oldwood. Welcome. Although I've seen quite a bit of Oldwood this week. 2 months. 2 months of giving me money, Mr. Hill Jarrett. What's that got you other than heartache? And I think... Oh, Kyrie's here. Hi, Kyrie. And of course, we've got Paladin Steve. Welcome, all one and all. Ah, there we go. There is Celeste's Twitch. Everyone needs to go over to Twitch right now and subscribe to, follow the... I don't know how Twitch works. Go and do the thing that makes the number go up. The green line goes up. You must do that. And again, if anyone is in the Conan Exile server, I've opened up a Conan Exile server for the YouTube community and wider content creators as well. There's a few light roleplay things I might do with it as it grows. It's becoming quite active. There are bases springing up everywhere. No one has found mine yet, but I would very much like to know where Oldwood has placed his shack. Anyone that can find Oldwood's shack is going to be earning a gold coin from me, for I have a stash in my very hidden base as well. But if you want to join, then the easiest way to do so is to become a channel member at the Law Sword level and join the Discord, because all the info is in there. Otherwise, you best beg for a free invite, because I have been handing them out to people that I like and recognize as long-time viewers. This is not a democracy. I'll do what I like with my things. Okay, I suppose I should bring in some people. Now, this was actually going to be a full panel. We had 6 people slated to be here. 2 of them have shown up. So we're going to have a bit of a more tight-knit conversation. Maybe some other panelists will come in. I know that for 2 of these panelists, there is a definite no-show happening, and I'm not going to hold it against them. Because they have very good excuses, let's say. Things came up for the 2 of them that need their attention. So I think for now, we will bring in the one that all of you are most familiar with, because I can't get rid of him. It's like a bad smell. Well, very sweet odor, like fragrant flowers on a meadow breeze. Hi, Dean.
Hiya, Jeff. How you doing?
You know what? Let's try that again. Let's bring in Dean. And maybe he'll get it right this time.
Hi, Jack. How are you doing?
Thank you. Do you want to tell people why you keep calling me Jeff? Or have you forgotten why you call me Jeff?
Someone, you said a customer, or you tell a customer your name, Jack, and then they come back with Jeff for whatever reasons.
It happened again.
Seriously?
Yeah. I say, yeah. They ask, oh, what's your name, by the way, as if they think they can hold me to some sort of higher standard by knowing my name. So if there's a mistake, oh, it was so and so. My name is Jack, and they all mishear me as Jeff.
That's not necessarily bad.
I don't know. I just
do you have a Jeff working for you?
No.
Oh.
Apparently, I'm the Jeff working there. Hey, Jeffrem's here. Hello, Jeffrem. He's over on YouTube. That's very strange for Jeffrem. He's usually over in the Rumble chat, but he must have gotten lonely. And, well, last, but perhaps not last, definitely not least, is Mr. Yang Yan Zhao. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon.
How have you been?
Busy. Very busy.
Oh, yeah.
But good. And cold.
Now, you two had some fun without me, I believe, recently, in Yang's new, successfully funded, congratulations.
Thank you.
Kickstarter, where Dean had an event happen to him, but I'll let you explain what happened there.
Go ahead.
Don't fight over it, guys.
Okay. So I had an opportunity to play in Yang's Empire the Undying Sun, Empire the Undying Sun, and I had a whale of a time. Very familiar 5th ed rules, but the setting was quite unique. I was a rogue. I think I was a thumb, wasn't I? Belonged to the member of the thumbs.
Yes.
And it was a blast. It was just very lighthearted, but at the very end, we upset this priest and black lightning came down, and we were told we were no longer allowed death saving throws. So if we were brought to 0 hit points, we would die permanently. So very scary
That was
stuff.
it.
It was good fun.
Very good fun. Very good fun had by all indeed. I will say that I look forward to receiving my copy because I desire to put Dean through this again.
I look forward to it.
Next year.
Especially after the incident with the raids, but won't get into that at the moment. Guys, there is a poll going on in chat right now for which of Dean's cats will be interrupting the stream first on Dean's end, and Lily has quite convincingly won with 62% of the vote.
Yeah.
So Lily, we will see if she comes in and interrupts with 16.
I think that's good odds there. Yeah.
I will say, if you have not yet, do like and share the stream. It helps out an awful lot. If you've got a burning question, you can always drop me a super chat. But for now, chaps, I was having a chat with Brass, who was supposed to be here today, but unfortunately just couldn't make it. Again, very, very good excuse. And we were just sort of talking, as you do, and as you two will know, being just utter nerds yourselves, you eventually start complaining about the modern state of things that you love, because everything was back better in my day, darn it. And we had a talk about a particular character within Baldur's Gate 3. Have you guys played the game?
Yeah.
A little bit.
I haven't finished it, but I played it.
I finished the first 2 acts.
Yeah.
And I haven't played the third. Now, I actually upset our friend Alyssa sort of midway through the year by bad-mouthing Baldur's Gate 3. And then she sort of came back to my way of thinking as the year went on, I think when she hit Act 3. But there's a certain character that everyone, well, 2 characters, but one in particular, that everyone on the internet that is sort of, shall we say, touristy in nature, really loves. Can you guess which one I mean?
I'm going to go with Karlach. Or Karlach?
You're very correct. You got it first time. Karlach. The tiefling, mechanically enhanced, demon-killing Karlach. And she's this sort of... Sorry for this, YouTube. She's obviously a very fetishized expression of the muscle mommy. And you know, for the people that like that sort of thing. And to me, she is the epitome of an over-designed, focus-grouped mess. Everything about her is just, look at me, I'm so special. Look at me, I am the goodest of the good. I'm the good guy, I'm the hero, despite the fact that she has no problem at all throwing away the lives of people trapped within soul coins and destroying their souls to power her engine. But we shan't get into that. She is... You are supposed to like her because you can see the focus group and the writers behind her telling you that you're supposed to like her. This is the character you're supposed to like and feel sorry for in some way, shape, or form. And I extrapolated this out to a lot of just modern writing. And I think one of the issues is so much of what we see coming out of video games, books, television, and film passes through this focus grouped, Q&A tested blandification, bleaching, cleaning, whatever you want to call it. And I'd like to know if I am sort of barking up the wrong tree here, or if you guys have noticed similar.
Yes.
Great conversation. Thank you all for coming. Next time on Talking the Library.
No, yeah, I agree. I blame Twilight for part of it.
Really?
If you look at the main character, what was her name? Bella something. She's written so blandly so that women could very clearly pour themselves into her, or make her them, which seems to be the more popular thing that women tend to do. And
I disavow completely.
That and there, I don't know exactly what happened, but there's some kind of a disconnect within all entertainment industries, where normally you had an older crop who, through the years, they had to hone their skills, sharpen them to a point against other competition within their industry, and then they become mentors to up-and-coming talents, thereby sharpening the up-and-coming talents' skills. And somehow that got broken to where they just started letting anyone in. And it's like, if you look at comic books, it's like Tumblr artists became the mainstays of
It's funny
the
you
big
should
two.
say that, because I think I can tell you a very recent example of a Tumblr artist, or in this case, a furry corn artist, getting into quite a high position, and that was the person that did the Dragon DLC recently, DLC expansion for World of Warcraft. That's where that comes from. It's got that sort of art style. But sorry, I interrupted. You carry on.
No, sorry. I try to intentionally have a blind spot for anything World of Warcraft these days.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, so basically there's no emphasis on improving your craft and improving your skill. It's all just you're good how you are. And there's something from publishers where editors, you could say that they used to be overly tight and demand like a very rigid style, whether it be in writing or in art, whereas now they seem afraid to ask for rewrites or redraws for anybody they've got working for them. So therefore, we have people who aren't talented not being put through a system which would increase whatever talent they did have. We don't have it where only the highest talents, the Messis of the football world, the Michael Jordans of the basketball world. And now it's just like Bob from down the street is playing on a professional team.
I'll have you know, Bob is the finest athlete of this generation.
And that's what they tell us, and that's the problem. Because very clearly we know, Bob's drunk by 3 o'clock. There's nothing happening.
Oh, that's on a good day. Speaking of Bob, look who just turned up. Bob Jester, welcome to the chat. Dean, what do you think, sir?
I think Yang's really hit the nail on the head there, which is craft used to be taught. And I remember we were watching it was Hans Zimmer in Prague, and he did these bits in between where he talked about how certain songs came together. And he always refers to some of the people who study under him. So he's handing his craft down. And if you've ever watched The Crown on Netflix, Hans Zimmer's done the opening bit to that, but one of his protégés did the rest of the music, and it's very in keeping with the theme. You can see the level of skill and expertise that has gone into that. But the people at Netflix would have had to have made a decision to hire that person because they had learned from Hans Zimmer and they could bring that to the project. There's a lot of projects done now, and I think they're beginning to die down, but there were a lot of projects where you got the person involved because of their name, not because of their skills. So it was convenient. There was kudos added to the person. We need to bring this person into the project because they'll bring this extra marketing or this extra audience with them, rather than they know what they're doing. And I'm trying to think. I forget which film it was and which director, but she was brought in on one of the Marvel films, and she never directed any of the combat scenes because they just wanted her as a director for the film name,
right?
And all the combat scenes were done away from her, and she was reassured, you can come on board. You just need to direct the kind of dialogue scenes, and all the action stuff will be done separately. And this seems to be a common thread within Hollywood. It's probably why stories feel disjointed. There's no joined up thinking. And I also think the homogenization of the races, the sexes, has caused a lot of problems where characters, their definition is gone. A female character can do everything a male character can do. They're as strong as, and a male character is as agile as. There's no differentiation. There's nothing to divide the people who appear in a film or in a TV show or in a computer game. And because of this kind of putting everything into one pot and then just drawing out the bits that you think your audience is going to like, or the focus group said, yeah, we like this, we like that, we like that, you end up with these bland characters that have no real setting. They've got no... If you met them in real life, you would think they were bizarre caricatures of something rather than real people. And this causes the problem. You're now looking, I mean, you can get away with a little bit in a fantasy, Baldur's Gate, but you can only get away with it for so long before those rough edges start to show and that fourth wall breaks, and that's it. The moment the fourth wall goes, you're done with the media. The moment you... There's this old saying in sales, and being in sales for... By the way, goodbye, Celeste. Thank you for coming. There's an old saying in sales, and being a salesman, it's something that I've heard quite a lot often. It's that people love to buy, they hate to be sold to.
Yep.
And I think once you sort of oversell a theme or a character or a world even, you've immediately lost the audience. I did a video a while back. We did a whole stream a while back, actually, on the suspension of disbelief, on the way in which people can more easily accept certain things about a piece of fiction that they are viewing, reading, listening to, or what have you. And there are certain things that can be done that just take me straight out of it. And Karlak is one of those characters that every time she speaks or every time she does anything, I can see the writers behind her patting themselves on the back, smug and gleeful. And, oh, aren't we so clever for writing this character? Can't stand it. Just to sort of refocus us onto genre fantasy, because that is my first love. I believe I probably speak for both of you, actually, if I say it is our first love is genre fantasy, elves and dwarves and barbarians and whatnot, or in Yang's case, Wu Ji Kung Fu, Crouching Tiger, Hidden American. There is a certain loss of skill. Now, you say that there is a lack of talent being brought up by previous talent. I'm not sure that's how this is functioning. I think there is an actual purge of skill, of standards, because standards implies a rigorous training level or a rigorous mastery of your craft to be able to move forward. Whereas I say this as one of the only 2 men in his English lit class. Out of 30 students, 2 guys, me and a chap called James. Lovely chap. There was a very feminized influx, sorry ladies, into these classes. And all of a sudden, you weren't talking about the structure and mechanics of writing and sentences and all the rest of it. You were talking about how something made you feel. That is just my experience going through the education system, doing English, history, philosophy, and religion, and especially English literature. I think it's quite telling, actually, Yang, that you brought up the way in which Twilight was written. I've not read Twilight, thankfully. I saved myself that. But what you said about the character sort of being a stand-in for women to sort of put themselves onto, or to basically be, to imagine themselves in the fantasy, is quite is backed up by the ways in which young boys and young girls play with toys. I am not putting any sort of my opinion into this. This is simply what happened in the study. Young girls would take a Batman and they would turn Batman into them. And Batman's going to go to the shops or do something like that. Whereas young boys would say, this is Batman. He has these characteristics and the Batman does this. They would not put themselves into Batman most of the time. Very generalized. Obviously, there are exceptions, yada, yada, yada. Really shouldn't have to say any of this, but people can't take nuance. It's very similar in what fiction is now. I mean, I go into bookshops and I think I can point out maybe 1 or 2 male authors on the shelves. The rest of it is romantasy books by women writing some very, very spicy things. in reach of children. I'm trying to be good for the monetization. Where was I going with this? I've been talking for a while, trying to set this point up. Oh, I'm tired. Yeah, so the skill, the talent, the actual mechanics of the thing became secondary to making sure everyone's feelings remained unhurt. Mm-hmm. And if you read something like the introduction to Robert E. Howard's, every time I say his name, I nearly say Robert E. Lee, which is a very different person. Robert E. Howard's Conan story, The Black Colossus, the Shadow of the Black Colossus, where you read the opening of walking through this desert into this pyramid structure, and it's all just this gorgeously dripping descriptive and evocative language, as well as here's a load of information about the world just dumped on you. Because what Mr. Howard cared about doing in such a short amount of space was getting you to believe this world could actually exist by telling you all the concrete bits of it, and also all of the more adjacent concrete bits of it in terms of where this man has come from, where he's traveled for this poison to kill the snake, and blah, 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 blah. It is an utterly gorgeous piece of writing, and it is not done by any kind of modern formula. You pick up a modern book now, and I'm going to call someone out. I have no issue with this writer, and I don't dislike his work. Compare Conan or Robert E. Howard's style or Tolkien's style, this very complicated sentence. Actually, I've got The Elenium here by David Eddings. There are entire paragraphs on the first page, which are 2 sentences, multiple clauses, very complex, very high reading level required. Compare this to Brandon Sanderson, where you've got very short, sharp, formulaic sentences, less adjectives being used, less complex language, less grammatical complexity. It is night and day. So when you say we haven't got people being trained or the talent being passed down, I don't think that's quite true. I think what's happened is we've had it's a two-pronged attack. One, talent has been expunged from academia, having been through academia myself and experienced it and watched it happen. Not to say that I'm talented. Bloody hell, that makes me sound full of myself, doesn't it? But you then have the other side of, because people go through this really dumbed down education system, and reading levels are terrible in the UK now for kids. I don't know about what they're like over there in the States. Worse. People can't read complex English sentences, and they let alone construct them. And it boggles my mind. And that, I think, is the reason we have characters which are so confused and so snarky and millennial, because we've left behind actually well-written material. Sorry, I've spoken for a while there. You guys have at me, tell me I'm wrong or agree with me. We both know I'm right.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go first. Well, so first, just to point out, you were mentioning about boys pretending to be Batman and girls make Batman have like tea parties and stuff. That is an actual study done by the Lego Corporation. I can't remember exactly when it was, but at the time, Legos were mostly played with by boys, and they were trying to figure out how to get more girls to play with it, and that's where that study came out of. I agree with you. So I think that there's two separate things. You are correct that the old guard, who were the most talented, were purged from the system. I didn't mean to say that the old guard is not training new people. It's that the new people are not going through that system, which refines excellence. Just like you would have to go, if you're playing football, you would go through, I don't know, whatever you call it, junior football, peewee football, and then you go to like a higher league and a higher league, and eventually you play professional. It's like they're just letting everyone in. But you are 100% correct about the schools. The schools here are absolutely awful. Most high school students these days, when they go to university or college, as we call it, they have not read a full book.
They let them in without having read just any book.
Yeah, they'll give them like parts of a book or something, but they haven't read anything. Now, I'm old. So when I was, at least in high school in the early 90s, we had to read Moby Dick.
I was born in the 90s, man.
I know. We had to read a bunch of Chaucer's tales, several Shakespeare plays. We had a significant amount of reading, and during the summers we were forced to read more modern books like Clive Cussler and I think some John Grisham and stuff like that. But you are 100% correct. But I think so that is one problem where the average American now, I shouldn't say the average American, the average young American who's, let's say, later millennials, Gen Z, their reading comprehension stays at the level of a fifth grader, which would be like 11 years old. They cannot think of, they cannot analyze complex thought in sentences or paragraphs or stories, and they sure as hell can't write it. So unless you are somehow exceptional or your parents really liked books and read to you a lot, you're kind of screwed. And then we have another problem where the publishing industry, at least here, is mostly controlled by older women. And
we're not going to avoid the culture war on this episode, are we?
Well, but that's the thing. They're buying books that they like. Well, there are very few men anymore in these publishing industries, so nobody is looking for the next Robert E. Howard or Edgar Rice Burroughs. So the kind of fantasy that appeals to men, it just isn't there. I mean, you could say George R.R. Martin was kind of like the last big one.
But he himself, and we're gonna bring on someone who will have quite a bit to say about what you've just said there.
I'm not saying he's great, but I'm saying he is the kind of story he writes is more towards what traditionally would be a story that appeals to men. He throws a lot of nonsense in there, but it's kind of in the right direction.
I haven't read George R.R. Martin, I'll be honest, but from what I have read, like the writing style itself, I wouldn't call complex.
No.
Anyway, let's. Dean, sorry to cut you off short,
That's
but
okay.
we've just had another guest arrive. Dean, give your sort of 2 cents quick, and then we will bring in someone else.
Okay. My 2 cents on the what's happening within education, why kids are not coming up with the same sort of reading skills. I think we're dealing with 2 different things here. One is the internet and how it kids have a shorter attention span. They consume a lot of stuff from the internet at a much younger age. I don't know about you, but the internet only really came around when I was, in my 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, and then really blossomed after. So you've got kids who are going into the school system with this already distracted sort of psyche. They're hard to keep their attention. Schools are then held to standards. They've got to hit certain targets. Now they got a bunch of kids that no matter what they're trying to do to these kids aren't absorbing the information. They're not adhering to the standards. So how do you continue to meet your targets? You drop your standards. So schools look like they're hitting their targets, but in reality, they've dropped the standards to the level that the kids can cope with, rather than addressing the core problem, which I think is a distraction in the family life at a young age, which is the internet and everything that comes with that, social media, the works.
Brain rot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, a wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to. And I think for this, we'll get a little bit of this going. Are you a fan of sword and sorcery tales? Do you have a brain that functions? Have you escaped the brain rot? Does your attention span last more than 2.5 seconds? Well, I have news for you. Joining us now is Sean Kierkegaard, editor of the Battleborn magazine, which I believe is fully funded and will be with us somewhat soon. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. And while a wizard may never be late, a parent often is. Had to wait until I had somebody to pass off the toddler to. He's doing well, as you will learn with yours very soon.
Well, I can't give the missus hugs anymore because I get kicked off.
But pleasure to be here.
Even here. No, it's a pleasure to have you back, man. I've been looking forward to getting you back on since we last had you all the way back in episode... I think we were still in the teens when you were last on.
It's a pleasure.
How much has changed? How much has changed?
All 3 issues of Battleborn have been funded. We are actually searching through the last of our slush submissions to fill those final 30,000 words. It is a blind selection, although before we put submissions in, I believe we have a couple people on this stream who might have submitted.
I do believe you have. I know Alyssa has submitted a little story to you. 10 Arrows, I think it was.
In our 2nd issue, which will debut at Howard Days 2026.
Well, that's funny how often that
issue
name's
in
coming up.
February on the 19th. So, for those of you hoping for non-brain rot, chest-thumping, blood-pumping fantasy, we will stand and deliver very, very soon.
And speaking of learning soon about children, etc., yes, the wife is using her little membership message here. Yes, as analog as possible.
I recommend highly. I've done that with mine so far, 3 years in, and
you recommend what? Sorry.
Look, he's almost 3 and loves books. Very engaging. Pretty much the only thing he watches on TV are documentaries. So he can cite line information about dinosaurs or sharks. So he's smarter than I am by kindergarten.
When I was a child, we had I used to go into the school library a lot. Kind of why I used the library as my sort of livery here. And I would sit and read the Encyclopedia Britannica because I was that sad, everyone. You know how Todd Howard was like, yes, I was in the chess club. Yeah, yes, I was in the book club.
No, one of those things I'm going to hunt down for him is the last set of the Britannica they made was the 2011 edition, which
would have been the one I was reading, I think.
Which is wonderfully enough probably safe from all of the brain rot of the past 15 years. So
This is not supposed to be a culture war show.
it's not even a culture war thing.
Did
So
you
much stuff
catch?
that should not be a football became a football. American or European, your take on what kind. But if there's anything that should be non-biased, it is the Encyclopedia Britannica. But as anybody who's seen a flame war on Wikipedia explode time after time after time, it just isn't. People just want to be combative, even if it's not politics.
That's very true. And of course, nerds are never like that. We're always a collaborative effort. In every community of nerds around the world, there's never an argument about who would beat who.
You say that, but I'm pretty sure I saw somebody praising George R. R. Martin in the stream earlier, and
I didn't praise it.
Do you want to clear your name, Yang?
I didn't praise him. I just said his writing is closer to previous styles of fantasy than like what was that book with the Minotaur embracing the lady on the front?
Oh yeah.
The morning something. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not saying he's great either as a person or an author. I'm just saying that was kind of the last big series that was kind of along the lines of the old.
Every day we stray further from God.
Well put. Yeah. The chest cold is preferable to cancer. Got it.
I just to sort of realign where we're speaking of. When I pitched this specifically to Sean, who thank you for the title, by the way, because I was having a real trouble just how would I go about describing my feelings here. And focus group fantasy is quite concise. There is a certain issue where fantasy as a whole has become homogenized in spite of the fact that it attempts to be as differentiated from each piece of itself as possible. It's really quite strange. There is this sort of corporate art style, like this washed out pastel corporate art style across many different properties, from World of Warcraft to anything Wizards of the Coast shits out. I posted earlier on in the week that everyone seems to miss the point of what the genre fantasy is supposed to be. I'm not going to say it all again. Suffice it to say that genre fantasy is a retelling of all of humanity's mythology, nicely packaged for today. Mm-hmm. And instead, we've kind of got this idea that modern fantasy is just a kind of video game cosmetic to put over modern day Los Angeles.
It's our two flavors of the month in especially trad pub fantasy seem to be either Harlequin romance novels with elves or fairies or minotaurs, as the case may be, or bad retellings of your last RPG session with a lot of curse words and non-kid-friendly material put in to make it more mature. And sometimes, like the lit RPG genre has done some very creative things, but other times you get something that makes even the worst days of like your generic D&D retellings, your Clonans, your Lord of the Rings copies, makes you yearn for the days of we had no idea how good we had it back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Oh God, you're right.
Just looking through the paperback stacks, you know Frank Frazetta did illustrations for Atlantis conspiracy theories? And now we have corporate art style on reprints of multi-million-dollar books that once had Frazetta, David, some of the greatest covers in history, like Hyperion. How many of you have ever read Hyperion?
I have not.
But
I will say, I one thing that I have read is The Lord of the Rings, and rather than have any of Tolkien's work on there, we now have the Amazon covers.
Which is almost nearly as sacrilegious as the Rings of Power itself. Or just to give a discussion that was actually happening on Twitter yesterday, even The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, with as much love as I have for the movie and its art style, you can literally tell a before and after for how Middle-earth is depicted.
I died. I'm back. I'm down here now. That was odd.
Both after the movie, when everything looks just like different riffs of the movie, and before, where every artist would have a different take on Middle-earth.
Yes.
Kelly's depiction of Aragorn looks different from the brothers Hildebrand's depiction of Middle-earth. And there's something to be lost there. We've lost that fantasy art tradition for the most part. You've still got a couple of the people taking commissions, doing covers, but...
You are very right. One that I would point out is Boromir. The Last Stand of Boromir by Ted Naismith is probably one of my favorite pieces of artwork, where he's got the sort of blowing the horn and he's very regal looking, and you've got this is a Númenórean bloodlined man. And Sean Bean's fine, but I liked him as Boromir, but he's not Boromir, so to speak. There's this really strange which cat is it?
Come on.
Reveal the cat. Moment of truth. We had a poll. Which cat would it be at the beginning of the stream?
It's a lily.
Everyone who voted Lily, 62% of the vote was for Lily. And there she is. I've forgotten what I was talking about, so I'm going to put this artwork that I've just been sent up on stream, and Dean can tell me why I'm doing it.
Splendid Lord of the Rings artwork. Oh, that is good.
It's one of our new artists, and we are so impressed with their art. It's that classic, old school feel. And it's guarding some very good books. These are the old ancient tomes that exist. They're the last remnants of information because the internet's overwritten everything else. That's going to be me in the future. I'll be guarding
one
that
of the
stuff.
things I have to give the RPG scene a lot of credit on is they have been the one thing keeping that art tradition alive, be it the black and white artwork you see in everything from your own RPGs to Dungeon Crawl Classics to some of the beautiful painted artwork we see from Castles and Crusaders and some of these other RPGs. Is that they've kept that torch lit, and hopefully we're seeing that move its way back into art for books, like we have with the Broken Binding. Some of these special editions authors have been putting out. I mean, I know I'm looking very heavily into black and white artwork for Battleborn. You can't have sword and sorcery without it. Not properly anymore. But I think we're seeing a pivot back to that just because there isn't anyone who likes that corporate art style that does not work for a publisher. And even then, given they usually dump it on some intern with 2 semesters of InDesign, don't like it.
What is it with... Wow! What is it with fantasy novels and just having a symbol, like a silver embossed symbol on like a dark cover? That doesn't tell me anything about the book. I don't get that.
Mad Pub, it's a number of factors. Sometimes it's, as Yang mentioned and Dean mentioned, publishing is dominated by predominantly Manhattanites and Los Angelesites, mostly female, mostly middle-aged, and even when it's not, it's people who disdain the field. People who got shunted from one of the 4 companies that still work in publishing and still publish genre fiction, and thought that maybe they'd be working on a respected political thriller or the memoir of our first female president, and instead they're editing George R.R. Martin's Wild Cards.
What happened to George R.R. Martin? Is he still right? Where is he? I'm getting a lot of shaky heads.
So there's a disdain for the material, especially for the past of the genre, or even its present. So there's a shame that they don't want to publish a book with a wizard on the cover because they don't like books with wizards on the cover.
And they don't like people that buy them.
They certainly don't like the people that buy them.
That's you, nerd.
It's all of our people in the stream right now.
Mm-hmm.
The other is that book sales. One of those stories I can share, because Bane has shared this publicly, Larry Correa published his Saga of the Forgotten Warrior, just published the last book, a wonderful series. All of the people in the chat, please check it out. But they actually had Larry Elmore do the cover for the first book, had him contracted to do the whole series. And if you've ever seen Larry Elmore's artwork for that first book, it's fantastic. It's stunning. And one Barnes & Noble sales rep put his foot down and said, if this is the cover for the book, we will not carry it.
Do you not like money?
They don't, apparently.
No.
Larry Elmore is probably the biggest, because it's the easiest to pronounce, the biggest name in fantasy artwork of the last century.
And the art he did for it is fantastic, and nothing but respect for the cover artists who did the artwork for it later. One of them even won the Dragon Award for it. But I weep for knowing that there are 5 books that would have had Larry Elmore covers, and I will never know what they are. There are 5 bits of Larry Elmore artwork we were denied because of one snooty Barnes & Noble sales rep saying, no, it's too old-fashioned. People don't like Larry Elmore artwork. They won't buy a fantasy novel with Larry Elmore's book cover on it. I know better. I went to Harvard. And there's a lot of stories like that. Like, it's the problem with conventional wisdom is that even if it's stupid, it gets repeated enough within the industry, people believe.
And also, didn't Larry Elmore get snubbed on the remakes of the Dragonlance stuff as well?
He did, and unfortunately, it looks like one of the people they brought on either was tremendously lazy or might have used AI to polish their work because some of the hands and faces are just not detailed enough. But talk about a downgrade.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the last thing is TradPub is dominated by cowards. And I mean that with love, because like any other industry that is giant and enormous, it is a rush to come in second. Nobody wants to be the first to do anything because, well, what if you lose? And in publishing especially, I get that. You can gamble a huge amount of money and promotion on a series that does worse than the series that came before it. So I get the caution. But at the same time, with fantasy, its biggest problem is, as touched on by our prior panelists, it's ignoring about 90% of the market. We no longer have fantasy catering to men or teenagers, of male or female teenagers. We have an entire genre that, because we had this 1, 2, 3 punch of Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and Twilight, caters entirely to YA for 30-year-old unmarried women. And for better or worse, that is a small demographic that will never get larger. Even despite the name of young adult, there are very few young adults, male or female, that read it at this point.
Before you joined the stream, I spoke about my experience going through further and higher education in literature and English, and that I was one of 2 male students in a class of 30. Much of just don't want to rehash too much of it, but much of my own experience is a shift away from the mechanics of a good story and world building to the feelings and emotions that one can get out of a story. Now, the 2 aren't mutually exclusive. I still haven't picked up Spring Dawning because my heart is still bleeding from the end of Winter's Night. You tell you what, when Boromir died, that to me, every time I read or watch it, is when you sort of, he died. And he's back. The stream is having some issues, I believe. I'm going to put myself back up here. You can have both, but I think the massive shift toward women's reading, it has been a massive hit to the fantasy genre, because the fantasy genre is a genre of heroes. And I say this as one of my favorite authors is a woman called Robin Hobb. I've had the pleasure of meeting her at the University of Birmingham some time ago, and my mother lugged every single one of the books she'd wrote up to that point to be signed. My favorite Robin Hood book is the first book in the Soldier's Boy trilogy. I quite like that one. I'm a sucker for a bit of gunpowder. But yeah, there's a lot of shifted focus from really nerdy sort of. There is a certain temperament of person that wrote the Elenium. There is a certain temperament of person that wrote The Legend of Drizzt. There's a certain temperament of person that wrote The Lord of the Rings, and that is will sit at desk and imagine and lose oneself in their own inner world and then write something about it and make sure it makes sense and put it on paper and things like that. And I think that temperament of person also needs to have a good grasp of the mechanics of the English language. As I said earlier on, if you read the first page of chapter 1, where Sparhawk is riding into the city, most of those paragraphs are 2 sentences of many complex clauses. And you don't get that anymore. You just don't. I'm guilty of it. I mean, I can write a complex sentence and I can sit down and I can write a few thousand words, but then the brain rot sets in.
I think, Jack, you're onto something with the feelings side of things, which is a lot of the literature I grew up with, it didn't tell you what to feel. It told a story. And 2 people could read the same piece and come away with 2 completely different views of it because of what they felt, the emotions that were invoked. I think with a lot of writing now, the writer's trying to get across, you must feel this when you read my writing. You must understand this message, or you must take this away with you. It's the show and tell. The great authors, they show you a world. They show you a story. The authors we got nowadays, they haven't got that craft. They haven't got that ability. So they have to tell you what the world is. They have to tell you what to feel, and they have to tell you what you should be thinking when you read their stuff.
Also, one thing, and I'll bring Yang in because he's been sidelined slightly. One thing that I will note is romance has taken the foreground, and I'm going to use the Hunger Games as an example. Please forgive me. I'd say, looking at my wife, there is a certain. If we take the example of Twilight, where you've got the stand-in female protagonist who's as bland as possible, so that every woman can more easily sort of replace that protagonist with themselves, which is why I think so many girl characters don't fail anymore, because why would you want to fail? The reason there's often a love triangle or more than one male protagonist or minotaur protagonist, I suppose, is because women want to be desired, and I don't blame them. But I think that the idea of romance and having a female character that is fought over is sort of the ultimate in feminine fantasy. And that is, again, a very generalized statement. My audience is somewhat smarter than most. I shouldn't need to caveat my language here. They know that I don't mean every single individual person that is on the face of the planet that happens to be in possession of female anatomy. Anyway, that's my little thought there. Yang, what you thinking?
I agree.
Yes.
No, you are correct. And sort of to bring it back to trad publishing, part of it is a self-perpetuating cycle where since it's most of what they're publishing goes to women, and what they'll say is it's because women read more than men. Every 3 to 6 months, we'll see some new article about why,
from men.
That's it. Every 3 to 6 months, we'll see a new article about why men don't read anymore. And it's like, well, there's nothing for us to read. But then if you tell a publisher, like, well, publish stuff for men, they'll say no, because they don't spend money on books. We'll lose money.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is.
And it gets worse every year. It continues.
Sure. And, at some point, somebody is going to have to break that cycle. I don't know how that would happen. I mean, it seems like a money printing opportunity, but then you have a few problems of, since men don't really go looking at bookstores anymore. How would a man know that a new book, which could be
Well, if
something
only
like
there was a magazine that was going to be online based coming out soon. Will say before
foundations of our business model.
before we let Sean go in there, I want to say a massive thank you to Shellback Bo for the $5 dues. Who's got a good singing voice?
Not me.
No. Sean, how's your singing
Sean,
voice?
yeah.
Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. How's that?
That was pretty good, actually. Better than I could have done. Well done, sir.
So the publisher or publishers that get men to buy books again, and especially get young men and young women to buy books again, is going to make a mint. Hopefully, several publishers will crack that code again, because we need that to happen for the industry to survive, and to a lesser extent for society to survive. A literate society is immunized against all kinds of stupid crap you really don't want to see happen in an illiterate one. But there are a number of things that could be done. For one, realize men and women read different things. One of the first things they teach you in marketing and PR, having studied that in college, is Lego. Lego ran a 20-year-long study.
This is the third time this has come up this stream.
I know. But those things that door stoppers, hardcover door stoppers work very well for older people with a lot of disposable income, with a lot of place to store books. And don't get me wrong, I am one of the people who loves hardcovers. I just dropped $40 on the new Christopher Rocchio hardcover. And by the way, the Sun Eater series, absolutely fantastic. And I will also, Three Ravens Publishing, Canon Publishing, Athon, Wargate, some of the people mentioning those publishers in the side gate, they're terrific. They publish a lot of male-friendly books. But for comparison, I found a stack of these at a thrift store recently. How many of you have ever heard of Casca, the Eternal Mercenary?
Never.
Nope.
So, in the 1970s, a Vietnam veteran by the name of
again.
Adler. How many of you have heard the song "The Ballad of the Green Beret"?
Oh, yeah.
He wrote that song, sang it. Sold more singles than the Beatles in the 1960s, and in the 70s became a pulp novelist. Wrote a series about a character called Casca, who was the legionary who pierced the side of Christ with a spear and was cursed with immortality to be a soldier.
Okay, that's cool.
And if you'll notice, each of these books is about the size of my finger. We don't print paperbacks like that anymore. Heck, we barely print paperbacks. And I think that is to our disadvantage, because the advantage to a paperback, they're cheap. You don't mind them getting lost or damaged. You can buy them at the grocery store for the price of an energy drink and not feel guilty. And it's...
You know what a great series of old paperbacks was? And I can find all of these. If you go into any sort of old... There's something... there is a shop near me, which is just an old cellar converted into a second-hand bookshop. It's great. And you can find loads, and I do mean loads, of Dungeons and Dragons short story paperbacks in these sorts of places.
One of those things that gets ignored is that for most of the 80s and 90s, TSR was the second largest publisher of fantasy in the country. And part of that was built on an empire of cheap, easily available paperbacks at every Walden Books and bookstore in America. And here, books... You used to be able to find a paperback spinner rack in every hardware store, every grocery store in America. That used to be how you'd pick up everything. The Belgariad, wonderful series.
And that's one of David Eddings, isn't it?
Yeah, and similar, the books are about yay thick. The Conan paperbacks, the Lancers.
Brilliant. Also, easy to pick up, read, and you're done in a few hours. if
And
that.
you don't mind if you spill a drink on them or lose them at your work.
Or use them as a coaster.
In your pocket.
Or dog ear the paper.
And you don't want to do that with a hardcover, especially as hardcovers are costing $30, $35, $40 these days.
You don't read a hardcover. You use that to put on the shelf and look nice.
Especially those people that like the colored sprayed edges, which I really, just
I say that.
You
I pick that up and read every now and again.
Yeah, I have that same one, love it, but I don't get the sprayed edges because I always put the spines out. If you have a lot of books, you never see those beautiful edges.
We have a lot of books, and I get them out to sort of go through them from time to time and really, really piss off Vix because she's the one that then goes around putting them back on the shelf. We did have a super chat come through from Jeff from Denka for 10 Canadian dollar dues. I would say it's not so much romance, but rather a form of female power fantasy, given some of these are twisted books involved. Yeah. See, I don't really mind people writing about what they want. I have written some incredibly strange things.
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
And I'd just like to point out that it is the female power fantasy to have people desire you and to be able to get and have them. Whereas men, the power fantasy would be more like being able to beat them up, to dominate them, or as Conan has shown us, go from village to village and find yourself a new girlfriend in every one. So they're different power fantasies, but power fantasy nonetheless.
And even then, Conan is more about the adventure than he is even about companionship.
What I love specifically, again, one of my favorite Conan stories, probably Shadow of the Black Colossus. Is like he just kills this guy, rescues this princess, and then immediately does her on the altar that she was going to be sacrificed on. So I will say, Amazing Gaming Production has said something interesting here, but I don't think I agree. You guys tell me what you think in a moment. This is a 2-month membership message, by the way. Thank you very much, AGP. The big thing here is men love interaction, so they started to play more story-driven games, and that's part of the issue. I don't think I agree. I think most guys actually prefer less story-driven games. I think a lot of guys prefer things they can learn about rather than interact with. What about you guys?
At least for me, gaming-wise, especially, that's the constant claim, especially when publishing. Boys won't pick up books anymore. Video games are... No. Boys pick up video games because, unlike books, there still exists video games for boys. If every single video game was a Japanese dating simulator where you're trying to hook up with Sasuke or whatever, I don't play a lot of...
Surprising number of boys would also play that. Let's be completely honest. You would be disappointed.
But if it was as oriented towards female gamers as publishing was toward female readers, you'd see a similar drop-off on male gamers. But you have Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto, any number of flavor, and that's everything, diversity. Me personally, I like RPGs, but the games I think the most time, grand strategy.
Is someone vacuuming somewhere?
That's a computer. Sorry.
Is your computer taking off? Up and away!
Once it heard me mention Europa Universalis, and it's like, no, not again!
See, that's another thing. I find most games that I like, and I'm a man, I think. Last time I checked, anyway. Most games I like are mechanical toy boxes. They're not really... Skyrim, who cares about the story in Skyrim? It's awful. I prefer games like a Europa Universalis, where I can just kind of simulate stuff and mess around with the simulation. But maybe I'm weird like that. People keep telling me I'm autistic. Dean, you've been in my house now.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Would you say I was autistic?
No, not really. No.
There you go. You say thank you. What about you, Yang? Your experience of me?
Definitely not autistic.
Smart answer. Sean?
No, but even if you were, wouldn't matter. You're a good bloke.
I appreciate the use of the British lingo.
Hearts of Iron 4. We got a degenerate in the chat. Love you, sir. But
Hearts of Iron 4 did something. Oh, we've completely changed topic now. Hearts of Iron 4 did something to Paradox games that I will never forgive it for. Focus
DLC.
trees.
Oh, focus trees. Oh,
DLC was
jeez.
everywhere. I hate focus trees. I don't want to be guided down a path. I want to do what I want to do.
I want to save the Byzantine Empire, and I can't do that in Hearts of Iron 4.
Unless they
restore
build
it.
a focus tree to allow you to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why it exists in Hearts of Iron 4 because people want to play the historical war-ish.
Yeah,
But
but they integrated a lot of these sort of faux historical stuff, the what ifs.
That's one of the reasons I couldn't play CK2 anymore, which is probably
Mm.
one of my most played games, because all of a sudden it wasn't a medieval sandbox. It was, here's the Grim Reaper playing chess with you.
Hmm.
We've gotten way off topic all of a sudden.
That's
We
what
have.
grand strategy does. It sucks you in. Like, again, having worked in publishing, yes, a drow. But one of those things is that gamers buy books. Like,
Mhm.
my first convention of the year, every year, is MagFest, one of the largest gaming conventions on the East Coast. And I usually sell through a giant chunk of my inventory because, as it turns out, people willing to drop $60 on a game are willing to spend $15 on a book.
Yep.
And for that matter, they don't care where they get their hit of fantasy and science fiction, as long as they get that hit. And for that matter,
I seem to remember video games coming with this in a
Yeah.
box. You guys
Yeah,
remember that? And you
I
used to
do.
read.
Yes.
Oh, you used to get thick manuals like that.
Yeah.
Amazing times.
or
Honestly,
games had tie-in novels.
The Wayward
Comics?
Realms has a tie-in novel from Ted Peterson, with the guy that also wrote a load of the initial lore for the Elder Scrolls series.
Awesome.
I want to just drag us back a little bit to the initial point, and I want to talk about two characters in particular because Sean wasn't here when we started it, and also I think we've gone a little bit off base. I thought we were going to talk more about specific examples of everything we don't like about modern things because new things are scary.
Well, there's good new things. Christopher Rocchio, Sun Eater. Check it out, chat.
There's another one that has been floating around about a blind dragon as well that was interesting to me. But I want to talk about two characters in particular that I think exemplify the problem that a lot of modern writing has done to our genre. Two video game characters, both from Baldur's Gate 3. The first one we've already mentioned, Karlach. Anyone want to take a guess at the second?
Astarion.
Astarion.
Oh yeah.
Utterly awful character. And I think one of the reasons that I don't like any of this, the writing in Baldur's Gate 3 got a lot of praise, but I don't understand why, because all of it for me is just awful. Don't like a single bit of it. It's just so millennial. And as a millennial, I apologize. I apologize grievously, profusely, filled with much compunction, sir, as what we have just done. We have stripped away so much character from the fantasy to make it safe and approachable and, well, very much safe horny is everything that we do. That's all we seem to be able to produce is safe horny.
Well, at least the Astarion archetype, it can be done well. Like, one of the reasons I tolerate some campaigns of Astarion is it reminds me very much of, someone brought up the Belgariad, one of my favorite fantasy characters, Silk from the Belgariad. Because he is that sort of flamboyant Italian Renaissance type character with a roguish element to him and an... I don't even know how to describe his narrative voice, just the fact he has this overall flamboyance to him that makes him seem like everything is a joke, but that's how he gets people off guard. Great character and a great
The
series.
issue with Astarion is he's just plain evil. And he's not even cleverly evil. He's the, oh, why are we saving these people rather than just brutally murdering them right now?
You know, I kind of appreciate that, though. He's a vampire. He's supposed to be evil.
Yes, but then if you think about it in terms of this being a game in the Baldur's Gate trilogy, every character that you have, apart from maybe two, are just outright evil. And it's just... I don't want to be a bad... I want to be a goodie. I'm a hero. I want to be a good boy. And every time I was a good boy, Astari made fun of me. Also, thank you very much, Amazing Game Productions, for the super chat there. When you read his tweets, your writing sucks.
Shockwinding. I'm sorry. I'm getting
Thank you very much. By the way, guys, we do actually have a goal at present for 5 super chats. Over $5 dues, and we're at 2 out of 5. Thank you all very much for those of you that have donated. Obviously, I don't expect you to donate, but I do work very hard. I don't know. I find. Have you ever watched a video by, I think it's called Swole Nerd? He's a YouTuber. It's just called Millennial Writing.
I've watched a lot of videos that make fun of it, and
just this snark, this sort of Josh Whedon, Marvel, Spider.
Well, that happened.
Wit. Well, that just happened. Lol, so random. Shit. And just swearing out of nowhere as well. And it's. I can see the writer behind the character speaking, and I want to punch them.
I think this comes into what we were talking about, which is the levels of reading skill dropping within education. Because when I was growing up, when you're young, you have this kind of lingo. Your parents look at you like you're going completely mad, but you go through school, you go through education, you learn how to speak in a way that is pretty much acceptable to the world as well as right. And when we've now got a lot of people who haven't had that level of education, so they're writing the way they feel is right. As far as they're concerned, this is how you should write, because they haven't been taught the skills on how to elevate their writing to a level where it's no longer trapped within a certain era, but it can transcend and relate to more than just themselves, to a wider audience. So I do wonder whether the education and yeah.
You touched on something there that I'd like to sort of focus on. Relate to more than just themselves.
Yeah.
Because genre fantasy is one of those, well, is the genre that is most capable of exploring themes in a way that it's most capable of just exploring themes. I don't need to make that sentence more complicated. It is able to take everything from all of human experience throughout all of history and carry on the flow of those traditions as if they are all tributaries into the same river. That's what makes the genre so amazingly interesting, because it is already built in us to tell these sorts of stories of heroism, overcoming adversity, of rogues and of thieves and of cunning and of cleverness and of tricks and of battles won. All of these things come from all over the world. They're innate to every human being. But they can only be expressed if you're able to get out of your own head. Because you need to be able to create characters, create things that are larger than life. Conan, for example, is not much like his author, I don't believe. I don't think Conan's a stand-in for Mr. Howard. Aragorn is most definitely not a stand-in for Tolkien. You have these creators that made mythoses, and they drew heavily on, for Tolkien, the mythos of Europe and of Northern Africa, and on the side of Howard, on the Atlantean mythos of the and what was basically sort of the idea of prehistory of the 1910s and 20s. It's so evident and so concrete in the way it comes across that you believe that these two prehistories of the Earth could actually have happened. And we just don't do that anymore.
I mean, you sort of touched on what I think one of the major issues within modern fantasy is that, as you mentioned, Tolkien, Howard, so many of those early authors drew upon such a wealth of material, education, history, mythos, and they created something, if not entirely unique, built upon very, very firm foundations. Even the next generation of authors, they may write something in response to Tolkien or Howard or their standards.
As Moorcock did.
I mean, as Terry Pratchett once put it, Tolkien is very much like Mount Fuji in Japanese artwork. It's always in the background. In fact, where it's in the background is as much part of your statement as anything else. Sometimes it not being there is the statement. Other times it's not there because you think you're better than it and you're too busy standing on it to notice. And there's
carry on.
a lot of modern fantasy does not draw upon that deep well, or people are not well read, or understand the origins of certain tropes or mythos. When your pool of reference is Harry Potter fanfics, and that video from a YouTuber you watch that says orcs are racist, shallow pool to draw upon for your own work. And it results in very shallow, very boring work. I mean, I'm working on a presentation about Portal Fantasy and Isekai for the convention circuit next year. And a giant issue with so much of it is that they don't go back as far as John Carter of Mars or Thomas Covenant the Unbeliever, much less King Arthur's Connecticut Yankee or Alice in Wonderland. They're all conversating with Sword Art Online or that deconstructionist book that won the Hugo a couple years ago. So
Sword Art Online's a guilty pleasure of mine, at least the first season.
There is only one black swordsman, and his name is Guts.
What about Zorro?
I maintain my point.
There's something I wrote a little while ago at the start of one of my many drafts. I've read it before on stream. I'm going to read it again. It starts with a quote from Tolkien. I have claimed that escape is one of the main functions of fairy stories, and since I do not disapprove of them, it is plain that I do not accept the tone of scorn or pity with which escape is now so often used. Why should a man be scorned if, finding himself in prison, he tries to get out and go home? Or if he cannot do so, he thinks and talks about other topics than jailers and prison walls. That's Tolkien. Embarking upon a new voyage through an author's personal fantasy world can be quite the ordeal. Each writer has their own twist on the genre, often drawing heavily on the old master, J.R.R. Tolkien, for inspiration. In this case, I am no different. I myself, as a lifelong lover of genre fantasy, often find that I must translate my previously existing knowledge of elves and the like from one creator to the next. Tolkien himself, as a pioneer of the genre, wrote extensive forewords at the beginning of his works in order to introduce his ideas to a virginal readership. Many years later, the German author Marcus Heitz wrote in his work, The Dwarves, that many people like very traditional dwarves, by which I dare say he meant Tolkien's dwarves. With the steady forward march of time, fantasy writers have tried to distance themselves from the master's work while still holding clear descendancy from it. The popular Warhammer setting, for instance, has clear Tolkienian inspirations, despite some of its less traditional aspects. It is, I think, proper to say that the genre of fantasy is a uniquely Tolkienian genre. It is, therefore, with no shame that I can assure the reader that my work is a work of traditionalist fantasy. Whilst the work may have my own twists and takes on certain elements of the genre, rest assured that much of your fantastical lexicon is largely translatable into the world of Varfal. I aim to write a good story within the genre of traditional fantasy, the genre that has so affected my life. Above all, my goal is to provide you, my dear reader, an escape from the humdrum day-to-day of reality, so that you may walk the hills of the Westling along with me and experience all the wonders and terrors of my own little fantastical world. I bid you enjoy. Main point being, you can't get away from J.R.R. Tolkien, even if you try.
Yeah.
And even if you can, I think Sword and Sorcery draws less upon that Tolkien tradition than many fantasy subgenres, but that's just because they're pulling from Lord Dunsany, Robert E. Howard, and other sources.
I think the two streams of modern fantasy, the two grandfathers of fantasy, would be Tolkien and Howard. I think everything sort of flows from there. Even Michael Moorcock and Elric trying to be sort of the anti-Conan still has this sort of heroicism to him. This sort of one Melnibonean with a conscience. Chaps, we're coming up on an hour and a half. Sean, you and I have taken up quite a bit of air. I want Dean and Yang to sort of give me some thoughts, either in closing or how you think this conversation has gone. Because it's not gone where I thought it was going to go at all. I thought we were going to complain more about Baldur's Gate, but that's just what I wanted to do. Of course, Mr. Bingley arrives just as we're closing, but don't go anywhere because I do have a little thing to say about Mr. Bingley.
Well, in regards to Baldur's Gate, I would say just kill off all the pre-made characters that they gave you and hire new ones through Withers, and it's much better. You don't have most of those problems. And Baldur's Gate is not irredeemable. There are a lot of nice things. Overall, I like the game. But yeah, most of the side characters that you play with are just awful, thin shells of an idea of a character. Sort of, I'm going to end this with a plug, and not for my book. If you are interested in what happened to women's characters, if you look at how women's characters are traditionally written and the female version of the heroic journey, check out a book by a guy named J. Ishiro Finney, and even though the title might sound silly, I guarantee you it's a good book. It's called Boobs of Steel. And it is literally... so Jay and his wife, Kat Rocha, used to work for DC Comics. And basically, Kat got thrown out due to some mean girl situations because... And Kat will be the first to tell you, she is incredibly well endowed. And that's why she got chased out. And so Ishii, his whole thing was sort of like deconstructing like what happened to the portrayal of women's characters to where this sort of behavior seems all right. And he does a fantastic deep dive. And we end up with characters like Frederick Wortham, who wrote Seduction of the Innocents and got American comics like stuck on kitty mode for about 30 years. And he was a card carrying communist from Germany.
I was wondering when the C word would come up.
But the book itself is actually great as the history of what happened. And also he explores different female character archetypes. So if you are an author and you really want to understand how to write women characters well, at least in a traditional sense, it really helps to understand these archetypes. So that is Boobs of Steel from J. Ishiro Finney. Definitely available on Amazon and I believe Kindle, as well as paperback.
And you might not plug yourself, but I will pop your YouTube link just in there for everyone to go and give you a subscribe.
Thank you. Yes, please do.
Dean.
I'll bring it full circle back to Baldur's Gate, which is just to say the first two games in Baldur's Gate focused very much on you as a character. Your party was there to remind you of the quests you promised to fulfill for them, or just to provide some friendly banter. They didn't hit on you. It wasn't a sexual race to see how many people they could get into the bed. And adventuring, the story was at the heart of those games. Both are fantastic games. The third one...
right now. And they're on sale right now.
They are. Well, there you go. Get the enhanced
Go buy
editions.
Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
They're fantastic. Loads and loads of playability within them. The third one suffers purely from the NPCs. I think the system, the 5e system, works well as a computer game. I think Lorien Studios did a really good job. They got awards for the complexity of their dialogue trees. Because they did an incredible job with that from a programming point of view, from a decision making, the way all of your sort of decisions would path and branch out. I think that is a work of beauty. It is a shame that the characters they brought to life were so insufferable. And it is one of these games I bought it in early access believing it was going to be good. And when it went live, I booted it up, I played a couple of hours, and then I uninstalled it. And the only other time I played it was with you, Jack, which was a bit of a laugh. I think having a good group in there is a bit of a laugh. But
just murdered everyone.
Yeah. However, I was having a run of games. Horizon Zero Dawn was another one where you play a female character, Aloy, And 1 minute she's okay, next minute she's completely insufferable, insulting people around her and acting like a complete and utter spoilt brat. And I suspect that might be a reflection on the writer. Anyway, there you go. I'm off my soapbox now. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. They're great games. Get them.
I will say it's interesting that you brought the communist word up, Yang, because their fingerprints are all over this. Anyway, we're not going to get too much into that. Sean, do you want to tell people what they can find from you, and I'll put Battleborn in the chat for you?
So, first, keep an eye for Battleborn magazine, especially as hopefully by mid-December, if not end of December, pre-orders for issue 1 will be live. But the other thing I will say, hit up your local used bookstore, especially for Small Business Saturday and Sunday, and try to find a fantasy series from before the 1990s, let's say. Something in paperback, the kind of thing you can smell the pulp. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you find. And for the next time I'm on this channel, you'll be able to tell me what you did, because it's always a joy to find that older fantasy and get a taste for something you certainly won't find in the romantasy-infested shelves of modern Tradpub.
Well, the stream is really having issues. We're playing some musical chairs at the moment. I'll tell you, the one character that I read more of this year, I think it was this year, might have been last year. Time is moving pretty quick. Was actually Elric, and I fell in love with that world and with Elric himself.
For Tanalorn, yes.
I'm not a Blind Guardian fan, but Cry for Tanalorn, at the Edge of Time, I think the album is, comes on a lot, and that gets stuck in the wife's head. And so when it comes on in the cars, Cry for Tanalorn, she sings along with it. It's like, I got you. I will say, I think, was it you? I think you were here last time when I told you about Star Wars, the Jedi Survivor series, the second game, and it is just Elric is the villain. They just ripped off Elric and Tanalorn. It's fantastic. I'll try and send you the clip that I found.
This time, Warhammer did it first.
Everyone's done it. Geralt is a ripoff of Elric. I said it, Emmy. She's not here.
I mean, to a certain extent, so is Drizzt.
Yeah.
Like, Drizzt is the Distaff counterpart, whereas, he's a dark-skinned, light-haired, optimistic underground dweller, as opposed to the light-skinned, albino, pessimistic, drug-addled overground dweller. And they both have cats.
Right, and on that, chaps, thank you very much for joining me. I'm yet to actually have an outro made. Vicky keeps telling me I need to do an outro.
You do.
So I wonder if Sean won't regale us once more with his singing voice.
Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty.
Oh, well done, sir. Thank you very much all for coming.